Good afternoon. Good afternoon, my villagers. How are you all today? I hope everything is well. I hope everything is well. Good news in the village, and in spite of everything, you know. I want to thank my team first for helping me here. Sheila, Juanita, and my promo crew. And of course, Norm, the engineer here that keeps it real. And of course, my co host, Rose Moore. You all know me. I'm Ruby Williams Shivers, your unapologetic amateur, still looking for experts in Africanism. And I'm more determined now today to find those experts than ever before. I was telling my co-host here, I think we should develop a whole new lexicon for what our situation is, since we are so different. And we are, until we recognize the fact that we are different.
Yes.
Based on the 200 years that we've been over here in this part of the vineyard. You know, we are in the diaspora, particularly the ones in what they call the United States of America. It's so different. We were made different by the
Creator.
Well, we were made different by the Creator because we were the first on the planet. But outside of that, the 200 years over here have made us different because of the chattel slavery.
Yes.
You know, we're the people you like to say, well, there's been slavery before, and we have slaved ourselves, and the Africans have enslaved us. There has never been anything that we went through. That's why we should redefine.
Right.
I tell everyone now, I think we should develop a whole new lexicon for us specifically. That way we create words that has nothing to do with the words that have been created by this society.
That's right.
You know, because when you think about how we came over and was dehumanized, when we were stripped, cultural annihilation.
Yes.
Cultural annihilation. We were stripped of our heritage, our language, our religion, everything. And when we were stripped, that put us in a whole new category of how we should be defined until we understand that ourselves. And we're not going to understand that just by the likes of me. I tell you, I'm the amateur. We need our experts, like who am I going to have on today? But we need our experts who have specialized specifically in who we are, what we are, where we come from,
experience.
Our experience.
Yes.
Till that happens, we're going to get confused with allowing them to define us.
Absolutely.
When they say hate, we need, because that word been bounced around a lot today. Hate. My hate is not their hate. My hate is trying to liberate myself, and theirs are trying to keep me in bondage. So when you get that, we need to really be very careful how we allow other people, because some of us have fallen into it.
Right.
And for a lot of different reasons, because a lot of us have allowed that to become part of our vocabulary, because just to say anything today could get you fired. There's been 2 or 3 people that have been fired over
need
just
to get
expressing.
together and do a lawsuit.
Well, that's what they should do, but they've been fired just for expressing some real concerns. And when you're speaking of a person who are obviously against your best interest.
Exactly.
How you can define that as hate as you would a person who were trying to steal and enslave you.
Exactly.
It's just beyond me. But that is where we are.
We can't say what's on our mind anymore, but they can say what they want to
And that's because we are at a stage where we are accepting all the definitions of we're accepting everything in the same vein as other folks.
Right.
And until we separate ourselves as uniquely different, which means then we have to come from a different perspective on everything, vocabulary and everything else.
Right.
But they're going to take those that,
because then we'll be reconciling
exactly.
what they say.
What they say, exactly. But now, before I go any further, I just got to say I'm excited. I was excited. You know, we're in the mode of trying to reconnect ourselves with the motherland.
Yes.
Well, at church on Sunday, my church, First Baptist Church of Lincoln Gardens, we had a unique visit.
Yes,
King Jeffrey.
King Jeffrey.
Came from the country of Uganda, which was exciting.
Yes.
A young man.
Yeah.
But his dad was the
king also.
king.
Yes.
And he had come over at some point I think, a couple of years ago.
Yeah, prior.
But he
Yeah.
since that is an ancestor now.
Yeah.
But the son has taken over as the king, young man, but very well spoken,
Yeah.
and very impressed with him because I think we're reconnecting in a serious way
Yes.
with the motherland.
Yes.
So anytime I see that, it just does my heart well.
Yes.
And I was just very glad to have that. That was at our church. There's a few things I want to share with you before I get into the program. One of which is there's a new black bookstore in Plainfield. And I'm excited about that because when I first came to Plainfield, there was a black bookstore. I can't think
Yeah.
of the name of the
It
bookstore.
was my friend Faye on
Faye,
Front Street.
on
Yeah.
Front Street. We worked hard to try to keep that bookstore afloat, but for some reason, financial, people came in and raised the rent and all that.
Yeah.
So it left. And there's not been another one since that time. So at this bookstore, what's her name? Chanella, I think. Chanella Bookstore.
Where's
They're
it at?
on 401 Watchung Avenue.
Okay.
Beautiful location. I was there last week with the brother who came in. What's his name? I can't think of his name. Plummer.
Oh, Joel.
Joel Plummer.
Yeah.
With his book. I was excited about his book, which is called Black Kid, White School, which means that although our black kids or may go to predominantly black school, doesn't mean that they are away from the white curriculum.
Right.
So it was he's a very good brother. I enjoyed the presentation he made because it was just so on point. So that was at the bookstore. And the bookstore, as I said, is on 401 Watchung Avenue. So I want you all to support that because we don't want to lose another bookstore. And okay, and then there's something else I want to bring to your attention. The brother, I told you about the book. Oh, okay. The couple of announcements. October 16th through the 19th, there's going to be the Queen City Film Festival. I'm going to have that brother on in a couple of weeks, so keep a lookout for that. But there's a film festival, big film festival. It's nice. And it comes in occasionally, but now he's going to bring it back October 16th through the 19th. And from that, there's going to be a young lady appearing at the bookstore called The Dead Are Arising.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I heard about it. Yes.
Did you hear about that?
Yes, yes.
And so that's going to be at the bookstore. M.J. Vandiver, Ph.D., M.F.A., October 16th. It's one of the announcements. Keep a look at that. And my home church, Mount Teman AME Church, in Elizabeth, New Jersey, is having a 165th church anniversary at the Westwood, and that's on October 11th. So you can call the church, pick up your tickets, and
That's in Westfield, right?
that's in Westfield,
Avenue, yeah.
South Avenue. I will be amongst, not reinventing the choir, reestablishing the choirs over the time that I came aboard, and so I will be part of that singing group. So if you all want
Looking
to,
forward.
so just come on aboard. So that is that. But I am excited.
So
More
am I. So am
Oh,
I.
my
I've heard
goodness.
so much about this.
Because I talk
gentleman.
about him all the time, and he's
Every
always
show.
generally I don't know. I never can. I seldom catch him in the country. He's always on the continent, the continent of Africa.
Oh, okay.
And so when I called him, he said, "I think I may be able to make it today." He said, "I'm out
It
of
was
the country."
destiny.
Yeah, so I'm just so pleased to have this brother
Yes,
on.
yes.
I will not read the resume because he has a lot to tell us about what he's doing, where he's been, where he's
Yes.
going, what's happening with him. My dear brother, Kalfani. He's the one corrected me when I accused us of being brainwashed. He said, "Oh, no, sister, I think it's brain dirtied." So I had to make a correction there. Welcome, my
Welcome.
Yes,
brother.
yes, yes.
Greetings.
Thank you both. I'm glad to be here as per usual. How's it, how my beautiful sisters doing today?
Well, we're trying to make it.
We're
We're
holding it up.
holding
Yeah.
on.
Holding it
There's
up.
no trying to it. There's no trying to it. You're
No.
doing it. You're doing
Okay, okay. What's on? What say you? What's on your mind? What are you doing?
Well, this is our first. We'll celebrate together. Tomorrow. I'm being promoted to full professor here at Essex County College.
Oh,
So
Welcome.
that's a
Wow.
big step. 20 years in the
Congratulations.
making.
okay. Do you know how to
Congratulations.
hit our bell there? You don't know.
Oh,
Don't be hitting the wrong thing. Uh,
I'm just looking.
no, I'm gonna hit it for us.
Yes, we don't want the wrong sound coming up.
Right. That's all good. It's all good.
All good.
And so I've been here at the college for 20 years.
Okay.
And in addition to me being here 20 years, though, the Africana Institute that I'm the director of has been here for 25 years. And so this year we're celebrating our quarter century.
Wow, isn't that something? I remember when they were putting the first bricks there because I was at
Yeah,
Rutgers.
yeah.
Wow, wow.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people recall that, when
Yes.
Dr. Yamba and all them first
Yes.
got here.
Yes.
That's 50, almost 60 years ago now.
Yeah, God bless. We've come a long way. We have, our people. We've come a long way, but we got a longer way to go.
Yeah.
Ashe, that's right.
Yep.
So, I just want to, spend a little bit of time talking about some of the stuff we have coming up, how we're planning out our year,
Okay.
and what that's going to look like for not just for us, but for the community. Because as you know, the things that we do are about and for the community. We're going to we got flyers and posters and all kinds of stuff we have coming up. We started off the year though with right behind me. You'll see this is a king from Cameroon,
Okay.
and so he came here. Was it last week? I think it was last week or the week before, and he was our kickoff, our launching of the. I'm just trying to get it so you can see a better picture of it. He was the launching of our program, and so we were excited to have him here. And he is the king of the Babatu people in Cameroon.
In Cameroon.
So
Right.
it was a very nice visit.
That's my
And
paternal.
so that's the launching of our 25th anniversary. So, and it's interesting because we started the Africana Institute. I wasn't here at the time. The first director was Dr. Leonard Gunther, and so that when it started, though, the king from the Ashanti king, the Asante Hene, came here from Ghana. So
Okay.
that was how this space started, and then we were building on it ever since.
Well,
Praise
Cameroon in my lineage from on my paternal side.
Okay,
Isn't that interesting?
Praise
there you
God.
go. Right,
So that's-
right. So
that's
I guess
my
you should have
king.
been. You should have been here to greet your king.
Yeah.
Had I known. Had
Yes,
I known.
yes.
I tell
Yes,
you.
yes.
So now you were telling me that you was maybe away next week. Are you back in Africa?
No, actually, I'm doing a speech in South Korea next week.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Tell us about
Yeah,
it. Tell
yeah.
us about it.
Oh my goodness.
Well, it's a celebration they're having there on religious freedom,
Wow.
spiritual freedom. So I'm going to talk about that really from an African-centered perspective, and looking at holistically ways in which we can start thinking about how the benefits and the necessity of thinking about and understand African experience, but the experience of people in general about religious and spiritual freedom, the ability, the necessity to practice and participate on your own, the value that brings to people. And as I said on your program before, many times with our diverse cultures, whether it's in the African experience or globally for everybody, we spend too much time focusing on our differences. And my synopsis on that is that we need to look at and build on our similarities and celebrate our differences,
Yes, yes, because we are
right?
connected. Yes,
So if we
definitely.
think about that, right, what is it? And if I say, well, what is that? What if somebody said to me, what does that mean, Dr. Kafani? And I would say that uh, building on our similarities means that there's things that we have that may not be exact, but they're close enough that we have some kinds of similarities, whether it's
Right.
food, culture, ways we dress, the ways we talk, cultural nuances, that there's all these things that are similar across these diverse and seemingly divergent cultural, spiritual, dietary traditions,
Yeah.
linguistic, ethnic traditions. We just need to take a little time to dig closer to be able to get a better understanding. And then the things that are absolutely divergent, if we think about it, we can actually celebrate those in other kinds of ways. So in sociology, we would say that we want to look at things from a culturally relativist perspective, right? So that's a kind of a sociology term.
Yeah.
And it means that you want to understand people from their own cultural perspectives, right?
Right.
As opposed to looking at them from an ethnocentric,
Yes.
whereas an ethnocentric perspective means that that sociologically it means that you are looking at them and judging them from your own perspective, and that you basically see your own foundation, cultural, religious,
Right.
historical foundation as better as opposed to different,
Yes, that's very
right?
important.
And
That is
and those two
important.
things are where we collide oftentimes, right?
Yes, that's important.
Yeah.
So so those are some of the things that I think that if we spend time on them, and you know I'll take a slight detour here from what I want the other things, but I want to just spend a couple of minutes talking about the fact that one of the things when we're thinking about this, one of the things that we I think fail to do is that is to really spend time listening to one another, right? We are, as academics, as pastors, as other folks, we're trained to kind of respond to things.
Yes.
And we go in headstrong responding, but we haven't really fully listened and thought about the problems or the issues on the table.
Right.
And I'm more of I would say consensus builder, right? My thing is to look at what's going on around me and try to understand it in ways that maybe we haven't really looked at appropriately.
Right.
Maybe there's something about they're doing, or something that we see or don't see, that we need to think about differently so that we can have a different engagement with the people who are in front of us. So those are some places I think that if we broaden our horizons about where we're going and about whom we're engaged with, that we might have a different outcome because we approach the thing we're working on differently.
Right. Right. And one of the things, Dr. California, I've tried to promote here in terms of us as African Americans who so uniquely different, while we do have similarities of everyone else, we got to first establish the fact. Otherwise, we get lost in why our outcomes on certain things or how we think in certain ways may seem different from other folks. But we come from a different perspective. Once we have established that, which not necessarily good, bad, or evil, it's just a fact. When we
Yeah.
came over here and we were put through what we were put through, we even different than our brothers and sisters on the continent in a way. The African American, had such a different experience than most people, anybody that I have ever read about or have heard about. And once we establish that, put that in perspective, then we will know how to go on and meet other folks where they are, and folks will know how to meet us where we are. If we are, for 200 years, have been totally, I call it cultural annihilation, by stripping us of everything that we have good to us, right for us. And then we are the first chattel slavery. So those two things kind of put us in a category that sometimes we don't even can't explain ourselves, because of this recent thing going around now with the hate. People are getting so confused. We have to defend ourselves the same as they are defending hate. And our hate, my deliverance, my fight for my deliverance should not be even associated with hate.
Mm.
And sometimes we don't understand that. My fight for deliverance may sound like hate, but when you think about it, it was no more hateful for me to this young man that was just killed. It's no more hateful for me to say that there was words spoken from his mouth, the same as I would talk about Nat Turner. I cannot look at the situation with Nat Turner and excuse make the excuse that maybe a person who didn't have that experience. We as African people were enslaved. So when a Turner go into a situation and does what he does, we got to look at that differently from what the Ku Klux Klans come in and do what they do. Otherwise, we get totally confused if we don't clarify and straighten out.
Without a doubt. I mean, it's about who controls the narrative of,
Yeah.
of history.
Absolutely.
And so when you look at Europeans and others, when they talk about history, the people whom you're talking about right now, they call their heroes, right? They have war
Absolutely.
heroes.
Yeah.
Whereas when they refer to us who may have done the same types of things, that they're not war heroes, that they would be terrorists. So
Yeah,
one person's terrorist is another person's hero,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
Or shero, right? Or heroine. So that we have to think about how is it that what we bring to the table
Right.
that is unique about our struggles, that that becomes the impetus for us being successful, and we've got to be the one that dictate what that is.
Right.
There's a sister named Jill Pookrum. I was looking for her book. I think I loaned it to one of my students. But she wrote a book, I think it's called The ABCs of Color or something like that. And she does a beautiful thing in there because she's talking about, she's a medical doctor. She talks about how we have to look at, even on a medical level,
Differently, yes.
ourselves
Yes.
and the biochemical makeup of
right.
African people differently
Absolutely.
than others. And so then, when you get a sample back that we went into the doctor and you got a test for blood or urinalysis, she says that most of these samples are done on European urine, and so
Absolutely.
therefore you have a biased thing that you're getting that
Right.
doesn't necessarily accurately represent
Right.
you.
The
There's
parameters,
either her
yes.
book or another book I was reading that talks about bone density, and it suggests that African bone density on average is thicker
Yes.
than European bone density. So if
Absolutely.
we are using a European or other people's standard for osteoporosis, for instance, that means that our bone deterioration has progressed further along than it maybe should have, and we haven't adopted the measures to address that appropriately
Absolutely.
because we're using somebody else's standard.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Those are clear biochemical, physiological differences that we've got to be looking at ourselves and the things around us that will help us to understand whom we are and how to
Absolutely.
address our concerns, our problems, our challenges, and our successes. We've got to determine those things for ourselves. And so that's what we do at the Africana Institute is provide space for that.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
let me just give a couple more things and we can keep moving. One of the things we have coming up is our annual State of the Black Writers Symposium. This will be our 13th annual, and we have scholars come, community authors come, poets, different folks to come and bring their books. I have a sister who, her name is Dr. Janice Johnson Diaz. She's going to come and talk about her book. She has a book that looks at parenting, and she's done a fabulous job talking about parenting for people of African descent and how we need to think about parenting differently than
Yes.
other folks have talked about, right? And so she is one of the people who are going to be participating. You were mentioning a bookstore. We have the Source of Knowledge bookstore that's going to be participating with us here at our event is going to be October the 21st,
Thank you.
which is a Tuesday. So we're going to have that, and Source of Knowledge, which is a long-standing bookstore and
Yes, it is.
cultural pillar in Newark, that's going to be participating with us.
Right.
I'd love to be in touch with the bookstore you're talking about, because we need to make sure we
Yes.
tell folks about them who may live over there, and or maybe want to go there, or may just be there,
Yeah.
and they can check it out in different places. I'd be glad to go there.
Oh, yeah.
So those are some of the things we have coming up. We have a beautiful art exhibition coming up. It's called The Lens of the Streets. It's a photography exhibition, and it's going to be in several locations on campus. And the sister Andres Brandy is the curator, and the brother who is doing the artwork. His name is Baker Hayes, and he's done some fabulous photography, and so we're going to have that on exhibition here from the I think it's October the I think it's the week of October the 10th all the way through to the end of February. So it's going to be up for a long period of time.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going to be doing a podcast myself here on campus. So we're going to be doing a podcast, and we're going to feature a lot of stuff with that and other things going on around. So we're expanding. I'm following in your footsteps. Keep pushing that. Right. So some people get confused, say, "Oh, you're trying to take over." No. I'm following in the footsteps of my elder.
It takes a village. It takes all of us to come to the table.
Yeah. The
That's
name
right,
of the bookstore is Cindella's. 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 Beautiful bookstore. It's
okay, good.
Watchung 401 Watchung Avenue in Plainfield.
Watchung in Plainfield.
Yeah,
okay, good. Yeah, next time I'm in Plainfield, I'll have to stop by.
Call me, let me know, because it's connected to a coffee. It's connected to a coffee shop.
Oh, good.
You go through the coffee shop. Call me. We'll have coffee together.
Sounds good. I love it.
You're by my coffee.
Yes, ma'am. And then we're going to have our annual pre-Kwanzaa celebration. That's going to be December the 12th.
Okay.
So we always do pre-Kwanzaa because we're closed during Kwanzaa, actual Kwanzaa celebration. So the idea is to make sure that the young folks at the college and in the community understand what Kwanzaa is and share the history and culture and vibrancy of Kwanzaa.
Right.
Yeah.
That sounds excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
exciting.
because really we want to be thinking about Kwanzaa 360, right, all year long, because that really is what it's about.
Why not?
Those four principles:
Exactly.
Kujajakalia, Ujima, Ujama, Nia, Imani, purpose. Right, all of these things that we're talking about, creativity, Kuumba, all of these things are important for us all year long.
Right.
And they're the hallmark of how we can build together. Even though there's some people have conflict or criticism of kind of how and whom started the idea, we still need to look at how we move forward as a people and what tools can we develop.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean that there's not room for criticism. There's room for criticism of all kinds. That we should be learning how to criticize, because that's how we avoid the mistakes of the things that we did at one point in time, and we create a different reality.
Yes.
Right? Some people just say we should accept everything that comes from the continent. No, there's room to criticize the things that happen on the continent. There's room to criticize things that happen in our community. If we don't, we're not being reflective.
That's right.
And I think to be successful, we've got to be reflective.
Right.
And another thing, Dr. California, that I try to preach here at this podcast is that we should see ourselves the same way as you would see any other major catastrophe, for lack of a better definition of it. Say, for instance, you were talking about the, one of you were talking about the, I forgot now, but just for instance, what a scientist or a person in medicine would go about doing, oncologist, just to name a few people, oncologist, cardiologist, that's a specialized thing that they're going for. Wouldn't expect just a regular doctor to know anything about it if he didn't study that. What we went through, I'm trying to impress upon people, what we went through is so specialized because we were stripped, the only people that were stripped, the only ones that was, culturally annihilated. So we then have to that's why I bring in the experts and the specialists. We too have to know that what we went through is so specialized that we need those people in there, because then it's difficult and hard to criticize people because they may, regardless of what their status is. I talk a lot about our young men were very upset with President Obama, whom I love. But just because he's a PhD from Harvard or just because he was the president does not mean he's psychologically prepared to accept what we went through as African people.
Right.
So for those of you who study it together with, I said, a faith-based person, I declare that it's going to always take these three people. Faith-based people, historians, I don't mean just
And
any,
scientists.
and the psychologists. Those three people get together as any, you go into looking at any other major thing that's happening, whether it's oncology, whether it's cardiology, whether it's whatever.
Right.
Call ours whatever we want to. I call it Africanism. But if we got together under that umbrella to know that it takes special people to get to the bottom of who we are and what we are and how the syndromes that we've gone through, and all those other things before we can even point fingers at any of us to say we're wrong, right, or indifferent, because we haven't gotten together on what it is that we believe happened to us over those 200 years, those specific 200 years. So that's what I'm really want to promote, that, hope that it's not just singularly, well, I know it's not. There's all these people like our great experts, Dr. Jeffries and the rest of them. I just want them to get together with each other and determine that they're going to put something together, like I say, like an oncologist would do. They don't go looking for law when they're looking at oncology. They go for that specific phenomena. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Let's.
particular area.
You mentioned Dr. J, and I've been doing some work with him recently.
How is he
Him
doing?
and Dr. Leonard
Jeff-
Jeffries and
right.
Dr. Rosalind Jeffries.
Right.
And he had been in the hospital, and he's at a recovery place now, so
Oh.
he's on the mends, thankfully.
Oh,
But I
great.
just want to maybe have your listeners, watch viewers, keep him and his wife in their prayers.
Certainly.
Absolutely.
They are great people. Great people.
Thank you for telling us.
Yeah, thank you for telling us.
So also, I think that one of the things that you mentioned, I wanted to just touch bases on, and then I want to circle back to my other point, and that is that you were talking about in terms of psychology. The one thing that I think that is a good place for people to look is a book that was originally written by Dr. Joseph Parham. It's called Black Psychology, and it was revised by Dr. Thomas Parham, Dr. Adisa Ajamu, and Joe White. And so that book really is a great book because it talks about some of the experiences you're outlining for African people. That book and another book talks about that as we go through and we experience upliftment and enlightenment about whom we are. Oftentimes, what happens is that we immerse ourselves in our history, our culture, and so once we immerse ourselves in it, we have a vehement response or reaction towards white supremacy, and sometimes that can be a little debilitating because you don't want to be around folks, you don't want to hear anything they got to say. You don't want to, you don't want to hear anybody who's talking about them in ways that may be in positive ways or something. And so then what they suggest is that once you've immersed yourself into that culture and history, you felt the pain of those who were lynched. You watched the documentaries, you read the books, you talked to some elders, and you see all of those experiences, the 400 plus years that we've experienced that were negative. Then you have to emerge, right? You have to emerge from your immersion. Right. And so therefore you have to get to a place where you begin to see and think about things differently, because if you don't, it's difficult or maybe even impossible to create a productive you. Right, because you're dealing in bitterness and angry and
Absolutely.
angst and anxiety and stress and maybe even hate. But those things confine us sometimes. And so there is as a matter of fact, I want to grab a little statue over here real quick.
Yeah, that's.
It reminds me of the idea of Ma'at, right? So Ma'at is an ancient Kemetic or Egyptian principle that says that at the time of your demise, maybe this will stop swinging. at the time of your demise, that your heart is weighed against a feather.
Right.
And so, if your heart is heavier than a feather, it suggests that you've lived a life that wasn't in light. And so that your life living with a heavy heart, we've all, those of us who experienced it and have gone through it, you know what a heavy heart feels literally heavy. It can cause physical ailments. It can cause heart attacks and stress and all kinds of things. And so living with a heavy life is something that's detrimental to the African being.
Right.
Probably
And our
any being, but we're talking
well-being,
about
right?
African right now.
Right.
It's
Our
different.
overall
So what they talk about is that you have to move from that place to a place where you have another perspective. And then so in ancient Kemet, it talks about that it's okay to have angst, anxiety, pain, frustration, fear, loss, and love, and all those things. But you can't just live in them, right? You
Right.
have to be holistic in who and what you are.
Right.
So if you only live in your animosity towards Europeans and white supremacy, then what about all the other experiences that are beautiful that African people bring to the
Right,
table?
right,
You don't
yeah.
get to really experience those because you've encapsulated yourself in the essence of what white supremacists and white supremacy has put here in place of you, and so now
Absolutely.
they don't have. It's like Malcolm said that the chains have been removed from you, and they moved the chains from your wrist to the back of your in your brain, and it's behind your eyes, and you can't see it. So you're still bound because they're in control of your thinking and doing,
Psychologically,
and you
right.
haven't liberated yourself from mental slavery. Right?
Right.
Naim Akbar wrote that book called Breaking the Chains of Psychological Slavery.
Right.
So all of these things are things we've got to start thinking about and using these ways and tools to help us navigate the space that we're in, so that the space that we're in is not just simply one of white supremacy,
Right.
but it's in African beauty.
Right.
Right? What is
Right.
African beauty space for us?
Right.
Right,
Now you
right.
sound like my cardiologist. See, you sound like someone I went through because I didn't have that. I have that knowledge. So when I go to my cardiologist and he tell me you leave this, that, and the other, I'm listening to a person who have that particular skill. So that's what we got to get to. We got to get to a point where we know not Ruby, but Dr. Calfani, Dr. Jeffrey, people who have studied a whole lot more than me that can come up with the answer. You just came up with a few things that if I were to go to you, I may get rid of some of my 200 years of
Right.
syndromes. But it won't be Ruby. See, we got to think beyond just telling me. We
Right.
got to say, no, there got to be a place where we, as same as that cardiologist, same as that oncologist, same as that lawyer, go to specialized areas to bring back specialized information. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It just can't be
But-
anybody.
So I know, but I think that I won't say, but I think that the ways in which we have to do it are different than what we've done in the past.
Absolutely.
So that in the past, so part of what you're doing here is bringing some of that to people in other ways.
That's
I think that we can't just, most of us in the past have just been in ivory towers, right? Where
Right.
if you don't go to a college or maybe to a lecture at the bookstore,
Right.
you didn't get to see Dr. Ben or Dr. Jeffries or Baba Small. So we've got to figure out how do we open the door so that a wider group of people have access to the ideas and constructs of solving our problems that a Dr. Kalfani or a Dr. Jeffries brings to the table. Those are the ways I think that move us down the road. The other
Absolutely.
part of what I said before is I said we need to build on our similarities, and I never talked about celebrating our differences. So
Right.
this brings me to that. The celebrating the differences that Dr. J and myself might have different ways of getting to the thing, but those two strategies can help us collectively get to where we need to get to.
Exactly,
Right.
because
So
everybody
we
don't
need
the
to
same.
build on those things
Right.
and not say that Dr. Jeffries and Dr. Kalfani are in competition. We're never in competition.
Right, right.
We're complementary
Right.
to the ideas and things that we
But-
have. So that complementarity is
Right.
the thing that takes us to the next level.
But don't bring with Dr. Jeffries and Dr. Calfani get together with other ones. Don't bring Clarence Thomas in on it just because he went to Harvard.
Right.
Don't even bring my I love him. Don't even bring President Obama in on it because I love it. It's not. He didn't specialize in that particular area.
Right.
We, with what we went through, certainly need specialization.
Right.
We need more than anybody else some specialized people who can get us through those 200 years of what we went through in a way that keep us from pointing fingers at each other, because that's natural for us to do. If I don't know how that affected me, I will point fingers and say we're not doing what other folks are doing, we're not doing this and we're not doing that. But we need our folks, who can come together with some constructive criticisms and advice, not necessarily criticism, but advice as to what happened when we went through that, the syndromes. We
Right.
got Dr. DeGraw, who wrote the post-traumatic syndrome, Dr. Francis Wells. We have our experts, but we need folks like y'all to get together to believe that it's just as specialized as the oncology, just as specialized as any other major thing that need to be tended
Those
to.
who did the work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
no,
like what he
I
said.
think
like
we
what
do,
he said.
and so those are some of the reasons why we continue to work together.
Right.
Look at the work of Dr. Malefe Asante, right?
Yeah.
He's written over 60 books, right? So he wrote books on Africology and other
Yeah.
things. There's a whole wealth of folks that have brought things to the table, and I think that mentioned my travels abroad. I think we also have to look at that our experience in some ways is unique, in some ways is not. If we
Right.
compare our experience to our brothers and sisters in Trinidad, our
Right.
brothers and sisters in Brazil, our brothers and sisters
Right.
in Cuba and Dominican Republic, and Haiti, in Mexico, there's so many similarities to these stories, but each one has its own little tweak.
Absolutely.
And so then those things collectively give us an understanding. And the one of the things that I like about some of the folks that I work with abroad is that, for instance, in the push for reparations in the United States, largely, especially on a political level, largely it's a focus on 1619, and I think that's a flaw. Right, I think that the flaw in looking at reparations from that perspective is that it's looking at a governmental aspect of reparations,
Right,
and
their
in
terms,
fact, need to
right.
be looking at all the corporations, the churches,
Everything, right.
the universities,
Everything.
the insurance companies, all the banking
The
institutions,
redlining,
uh,
everything, everything.
all of those things
All of it.
collectively
Yeah.
need to be thought about and talked about and assessed when we're talking about reparations.
Absolutely.
And then even with HR 40, right? So the challenge there is that HR 40. I ran for Congress, as you know, in 2022 and 2020, and my thought is that we don't need an HR 40. There's more than enough studies. I have sitting at my house on a bookshelf, maybe 20 books on reparations.
Right.
We don't need any more studies
No,
on
we don't need
reparations.
it.
We need
No.
implementation. We need strategies for implementation,
Right.
as
Right.
opposed to studies
Action.
on what
A
reparations
plan
is
of
and
action.
how to
Right.
address
To
it.
execute
Plan of
it.
action,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I think that's where we should be
Right.
in our talks about it. Only spending time. If HR 40 did anything, it should pivot to that. And then the folks that are looking at reparations abroad, though, they're not just talking about their colonial masters, if you will. They're talking about the whole colonial enterprise,
Right.
And that's what I think we need to be talking about is the whole colonial enterprise, in addition to the different governments, the United States government. We focus on 1619, but there were actually the French who brought enslaved people here in the 1500s.
Yeah.
Right.
But we forget to talk about that
Right.
and bring that into the conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then there were Africans who were already here.
Right, the indigenous
and we have
people,
to
right.
talk about that, right? So
That's
then there's
right.
also this dialogue where folks get lost because you have ADOS and a couple of other organizations. I can't remember the name of them now. But they want to distance themselves from the continent, right? So they say they're not Africans. And my question is, well, if you're not African, then what are you, right?
Right.
That they say that they're indigenous
Everybody
to
is
this land.
African.
Yeah, I understand that. So, but even those folks who are indigenous came from somewhere, right?
Exactly.
And so then, if we have the archaeological, the genealogical evidence to suggest that the origins of humanity came from Africa,
Right.
It
you
is.
know, so then maybe your point of departure is 1,000 years or 2,000 years
Exactly.
before Columbus or any of them came,
Right.
but that doesn't mean that you have no African ties.
Right.
Exactly.
The
Right.
root
And
is
so
the
then that's how
same.
we have to reframe the thinking
Uh-huh.
in our discussions with them. And it's not to beat them up, it's
Right.
just to provide a different way of thinking about and talking about the things that they've
Right.
come up with and how we structure what that is.
Absolutely.
Right.
The narrative.
Okay, we're
must
going to
be
get back to that, but I
consistent.
want to get to my villagers before I forget it. Norm, can we see who's calling in? And I know I got some folks who ready for me to. Rashida, thank you, baby. You're always there. I'm so pleased. Walter from California. That's my grandson. That's my son. Not my grandson. And Chester, oh, good to see you, baby. Rashida, Joy Jackson from California. Janice Heiser from North Carolina. And Lloyd checking in. Robert Cabbage Talk, always on deck. I appreciate you all so much, just to give us some presence here and let us know that you're watching and enjoying what we're doing. I just appreciate it so much. Now, getting back to Dr. California, I'm just always, we are just always excited that when you come because we learn something every day, every time you come. But one of the things that I wanted to get back to, you made the great point about how, you'll get together on issues, and I agree with that. The only thing I guess what I'm focusing on more, I believe that can I phrase it? If we knew ourselves that we needed some specialized type of training, and the same as like I say, the scientists or oncologists, they are cardiologists, other folks will respect the fact that we know we are different and that we was involved in something different. We got similarities, but the two things that make us different is the fact that we were stripped and that chattel slavery. So those two things separate us from whatever anyone else ever went through or anything that I've read, biblical or otherwise. So I'm saying once we concentrate on that and recognize that, then we can determine and we can demand and we can believe that we need something special too to bring us back to, I call it the restoration of who we were. And in order to do that, because you're going to have some of us out here who may know a little bit about what happened. Then the other ones really always asking the question, then why are we? And why are we? So until we can give them a answer that didn't just come from Kanye West or any of the other people that they pick up off the street to talk about our situation. We have to demand that the same as you wouldn't even get a lawyer to talk about a cardiologist because that's not his study, not his line of study.
Well, but the I think the point there is that there's a intentional level of distraction, right? Mm-hmm. That folks are trying to distract people. So whether it's on their phones or with 1,000 TV shows now and 25 different social media platforms in which you can communicate, there's always something where you're distracted. And I think that even though you say stripped, I don't know that I'd use that word because I think that there was an endeavor to strip. However, that we have some cultural continuity from the continent to today, that we have spiritual religious practices, whether it's through Isheshe or Yoruba, the Akan, voodoo, hoodoo, conjure, Santeria, Lukami, Shango Baptist, spiritual Baptist, all of these things have deeply embedded in them African culture.
Absolutely.
And the question becomes, if we were completely stripped, where did they come from?
Right.
So no, that people were continuing to use and practice, and they masked it from their slave masters. So
Absolutely.
they use what they call syncretism.
Absolutely.
We
They
need to
use
know.
syncretism to connect their African spiritual systems with the European saints, and that's how they continued to do what they were doing under the auspices of white supremacy and
Right.
enslavement and torture and brutality.
That will be
They
part of
practice
the.
martial arts.
We
They
need to
practice
know.
martial arts in Brazil using candomblé,
Right.
which Europeans, I'm sorry, capoeira, which Europeans perceived as dance. They weren't dancing; they were preparing for warfare, and so they mixed the dance with
Exactly.
music, and they were preparing for warfare. So all of these things they continued to use in Haiti. If you go back and look at them, they talked about
Right.
how they used herbal medicines as part of their warfare because they knew about the herbs. So they continued to use that which they already knew.
Right.
So we want to make sure that we give credit to our ancestors
Exactly.
and even those present who have used these things for the
That's
last
right.
hundreds of
You
years.
That's
Right?
just said it. You just explained me better than I could explain myself. Well, then we need to know that. I didn't know that. So me and a million other folks, you and two other folks may know that information. Those are the two others that need to get together. There, when this pandemic came through, it was so overwhelming. Nobody knew a whole lot about it. Just a few people. I went to my primary doctor. He said to me right away, Ruby, I'm not an expert in that. So knowing that he knew a whole lot of other stuff, he admitted immediately he did not know the extent of the pandemic or what that was all about. That you just made a good point. Now, I'm thinking that we were stripped. And I still think that, but I'm saying you may be able to clarify it for me differently. That's what we need. We don't need just to look at our situation so callously that we can think anyone will know the depth of what happened to us. Ours is so uniquely different that was an information for me. Now, I still may think we were stripped to a degree, but you could explain it a lot more. I tell anybody, I'm the amateur. That's why in my book I write the amateur, the expert, and the antagonist. The amateur is Ruby. I'll stand on the soapbox and defend anything. But you may be able to stand on that soapbox and define. That's the expert. And this antagonist is like that guy down in Florida, Governor, what's his name, who said that we came over here to study how to do things. So we got three different people in our heads all the time. What we need is African people, just like any other catastrophe, and we went through a catastrophe, that for sure, to specialize it in a way that we know is different from just anybody being able to define it. Anybody can't define it. You did a good
Yeah, I mean,
job
we're
defining
still going through that catastrophe. That catastrophe
Yeah.
hasn't disappeared.
Exactly.
And so as we do so, we part of it is another group I belong to that we're doing some studying, and one of the things they talk about in there is that part of the thing is that how we frame our own experiences. So that we, for instance, people talk about Tulsa, Oklahoma as a massacre, for instance.
Yes.
Well, that framing is problematic.
Yes.
Because we should really think about Tulsa, Oklahoma, about what actually happened.
Right.
So you had some sheriffs and other folks who arrested a brother and accused him of something. And then you had a group of brothers who went to the jail to defend him, who were former military guys, and they went there with their guns. And the sheriff told them that they got it, they're gonna take care of it, that they should leave. So they ultimately left, and then they came back with more guns because they knew that what the sheriff was saying wasn't gonna hold water. And so then what you end up really understanding when you look at it differently, it wasn't a massacre, that there was a war, it was a battle, and that this was the front that these brothers and sisters were engaged in. They lost the battle, but it was a battle. It wasn't just a massacre.
Right.
We have to give them agency that they had. We have to give them. We have to talk about the things and ways in which they stood up to the onslaught of white supremacy and the warfare that they were engaged in.
Right.
That maybe they won, but even today we know that they were continuing that battle for over almost 100 years.
Yeah.
And so just in the last week or two, they finally got reparations in Tulsa.
Yeah.
And the sisters are 100 and like 102 and
Right.
111 or something like that, and they're the last living survivors. But their children, grandchildren, great grandchildren, and great great grandchildren are the survivors.
Right.
And so what this means, though, and what the brother said in the video is that we finally got together as a community, got organized, and got out from in front of ourselves, blocking ourselves.
Right.
We elected a brother to be the mayor, and
Uh-huh.
then that brother followed through on his promises to make these reparations happen. And so then that's what it took for us to get to a level that we can address the types of traumas that we've had, understanding that we allow the European idea of divide and conquer to continue to bombard us, but we have the ability to overcome that if,
Absolutely.
in fact, we stop and do something different.
Right, and
Absolutely.
many of us don't know that. Many of us don't know that we can do something different. We think that we are under the tutelage, well, not the tutelage, the still under the slave master's whip. Now it's going to take those folks like yourself to come enlighten us together, and that's where we'll get the respect from other folks that they know that we know there's something uniquely different about what we went through that needs attending to, needs cures for it. And so that's what I'm always so glad to have you on, brother. You always are so informative and always enlighten us, and I learn something every day. So, and bless you for when you go to South Carolina.
Continued blessings.
Continued
Always.
blessings.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you,
Yes,
thank you.
yes.
Okay. Take care.
And
now.
thank you for having me on. I enjoy every time that I'm here with you, and I'm glad that my sister is here with us today.
Yes.
And I look forward to coming back and sharing with you what kind of unraveled in our experience for the 25th anniversary for this
Okay.
semester, and then we have more stuff that we didn't get a chance to go over for next semester. So maybe at a later date we can share with you what's going to happen starting January. I'll just give you a
Please.
precursor that we're
Okay.
planning to go to Ghana in 2026 in the summer.
Okay.
all
I'll
right.
do that.
We'll have you back.
Definitely.
All
will
right,
do that.
all right.
Okay. You take care. God bless.
You do the same. God bless. Peace.
What were you going to say?
I said, what will it take for now, as smart as he is, and he is, he's still not getting what I'm trying to say. What is it? What it will take? No, do you know what I'm trying to get at?
I know what you're trying to say.
Everybody's just always going to have their own
Yes.
view.
No, that's what I'm saying, but
Yeah, he has his own
that's
perspective.
what I'm saying. That's what we got to get away from. I'm trying to. It's not them. It's me. I'm not articulating it. I'm not. But somewhere, you know who did it? The
Write
other
an
day?
article.
No, you know who did it the other day? Plummer. Plummer. He did it. He was dead on what I'm talking about. What I